As a kid, especially in elementary and middle school, I was a huge fan of doodling. It was always something I looked forward to, even when I had an awful day at school. Like the time I straight bombed my math test, and afterwards got bullied by the mean kids at recess, then curled up in the boys' restroom wailing like a bitch-ass banshee.
Why are you crying?
I'm kidding, of course, I never failed my tests at school. Despite that depressing glimpse I just gave you of my childhood, one thing always remained. I had reprieve from the miserable and mundane in the form of doodles, and the treasure box that held these doodles, my sketchbook. This sketchbook, a cheaply made, faded, and worn out book with my name sprawled somewhere on the first page, became my escape from the often overwhelming days at school and even at home. This sketchbook had no imposing rules and no bully behind my shoulder to tell me how terrible my art was. This sketchbook was just me and my doodles. It was free, it was simple, and it was exciting. For me, Tiny Glade is that same sketchbook that I've missed all these years later. Funny enough, I stumbled upon this game by complete accident and never went looking for it. I had an exhausting day at work and wanted to play something, anything, but the games in my catalog at the time just gave me a feeling of pressure. They either demanded pinpoint precision or godlike reactions, with punishing resets or demoralizing consequences if I couldn't man up to its tasks. Usually, these games can be really fun once you overcome its many challenges, but after the day that I had, nah. So, here I am on Steam, scrolling through sales because Steam is just the GOAT for this kind of stuff, and here comes a game that just looks different. Tiny Glade. I remember seeing trailers for it some time ago, but it didn't seem like something I'd play, as I'm into bombastic action-adventure games like Ninja Gaiden, Monster Hunter, and Bloodborne. Sony, please remaster Bloodborne, and my life is yours. So it just got a passing glance. Yet, here it is, on sale, so what the hell? I buy it, download it, boot it up, and this is all I see. A little round building with a roof, a simple wall, and a cute sheep. The next thing I see is this toolbar, which you can use to add things to the world, from walls and fences to dusty dirt paths and even ponds of water. With each item I add, I notice other things start to change, as the stuff I place down interacts with one another. Walls give openings when a path goes through them, and flowers go from tame to wild when they're clicked on in the same spot. Soon enough, these bits started coming together to give me my first glade. It wasn't much, but it was something, right, sheep? Hell yeah. But I didn't want to stop there. More ideas started coming to me. What else could I try? Are there weird combos I don't know about? So, I dug deeper. I started to experiment more with the windows, realizing that you can get miniature items. Benches, barrels, tools, and all of them were so neat. My glade starts to come together with each little thing I try. Before long, towers are rising above the walls, and I've even got a barn beside it. The windows continue to add tools for my barn, and I start to imagine the story of a wee farmer living out in the countryside, wanting natural peace and quiet to stimulate his days. From there, I play around more with the water, as I'd imagine you'd have a decent pond, and... Bro, is that fish? You can get tiny fish for your tiny glade? Wait, ducks too? So they show up when there's a lot of water. Man, what else can this cute-ass game do? My curiosity transforms into excitement, and my story continues with each development I make. I imagine that the farmer would start a family, and that his kids would get into astrology, having grown up admiring the stars in the night sky due to the vibrance they have out in the countryside. And so, I get to work on clearing out trees to create an observatory for the farmer's kids. I discovered that forming paths to the buildings gives me big wooden doors, and I put these beautiful glass windows all around the observatory. I changed the colors of the observatory's walls and add a much larger body of water so I can have more ducks and fish. I didn't really have a reason for the big pond, I just thought it was cool. Little by little, piece by piece, as the area expanded, I got more and more ideas, and it was just so peaceful. Why is this so peaceful? Then it hit me. I've felt this way before. Years ago, after a hard day at school with tests and bullies, I'd run to my room and just let my mind wander to wondrous worlds. Ideas filled my head and I'd plop those ideas, those doodles, right into my sketchbook. Then, those doodles turned into fuel for stories and comics, the lifeblood of my childhood. The worn-out sketchbook from all those years ago returned, and it's in this game, coming back to me when I needed it most in my adult years. Tiny Glade actually has a big hand in getting me back into creating content. This game's simple premise of just getting you in, giving you tools, and a tiny drop of something on the canvas resonates with my inner creative child, especially with the snippet of something pre-made. I remember plenty of days where I'd see a blank page and be paralyzed with fear to even start, thinking that one bad line would ruin this idea in my head, and that I'd have to start out with a perfect circle or something before I drew a character, or a perfect horizon line for a background. Similarly, as to how I'd have to have a perfect video before I start a channel. With Tiny Glade, something already being here encourages you to build further upon it, and fills you with ideas for your next doodle or project. Tiny Glade is a snack-sized wonder wrapped up in a beautifully textured, interactive world that says to you, hey, I know you've had an overwhelming bullshit-filled day today, and life is rough and tough right now. So why don't you kick back and let your inner child come out and play? The game lets you experiment in a sandbox playground and sells you on the premise of giving you a chance to explore yourself and your ideas, even if you haven't had a chance to do so in a while. In our current world that is chock full of tedious, attention-starved slop topped with destructive hate out of your control, this game swoops in to sweep the spirit off its feet and sets it free. So if you've ever had that itch to go back to simpler times where a sketchbook would have been your best friend, please give this game a shot. I promise both you and your tiny inner self, it is so worth it. Thanks for checking out my video. If you liked it, please be sure to splash it with a like, leave a comment telling me if you've played this game or you'd be willing to give it a shot, and be sure to subscribe for more content like this in the future. As always, be safe, be kind, and I'll see you next time.